So we spoke to him just before lockdown kicked off, which is almost a year ago. And he's been heading up a hotel group that's been innovative, that has managed to stay subtle, and that has actually been on the forefront of actually championing quite a bit of an industry that has been, I suppose, decimated, that a lot of people would say that has really been struggling. He is Marc Wachsberger. He's the founder and managing director of the Capital Hotel Group. And Marc, it's great to have you on this podcast again. As you reflect on the last 12 months, what are some of the thoughts and feelings that are going through your mind right now?
The last 12 months has been absolute pandemonium. My thoughts are that I'm recovering from a heart attack. But, you know, with the hard times comes the opportunities, and that's really where we stand. Opportunity presents itself in terms of property that we would have begged to get in when times were good and just couldn't. So we're feeling very blessed to have survived wave one, where we actually broke even during wave one with repatriation flights and pivoting our business. Wave two, not so lucky, with business and leisure lockdown with no booze and the like. But we survived, and where we're at now is we're capitalizing on the tough times and starting to rebuild.
Well, I like that intentional or non-intentional play on words. You've got a strong presence in Sandton as the capital, but there were a couple of moves on the chessboard there as well that you've made in terms of some of those properties.
Yeah, I think we have been too long in Sandton. We have too many hotels and units and rooms in Sandton. And Sandton is going to be hard to recover, because what you've got is a supply into a business market. Sandton, at the end of the day, is, people come from all over the country to do business in Sandton. They come from all over this in Sandton. And that market is hard hit. You've got a lot of corporates that are not back at work yet. When they are back at work, how much conferencing are they going to do? So we actually predict that it will recover, but it won't recover immediately and quickly. And so for us, we actually wanted to shrink in Sandton. We've closed and are selling the 20 West Hotel. Some of our other hotels are designed that if times really get tough, we don't renew our leases, meaning we reduce the number of stock that we have. So Sandton, we're shrinking, but at the same time, in the chessboard, we're expanding in Cape Town, we're expanding in KZN, which KZN is a strong market. And Cape Town, we're just short of rooms in Cape Town. And we're also expanding in Nelspruit, which is more resilient.
Well, let's get into that. I know one of the big announcements that came up in the news over the last week is this purchase that is described as a coup, the Fairmont Zimbali. It seems like one hell of a buy. It seems like a real diamond to have bought on the East Coast. Tell us a little bit more about this deal.
So, yeah, I think, buying it at the price that we're buying it seems like a coup, but it's not so obvious, because if you can imagine raising capital, raising investors, raising funds for hotel acquisitions when everyone's, running for the hills, it's a really tough time to raise capital, and it's a really tough time to, to be a buyer and to have that vision and I guess that thought that things will get better, which we do believe that they will. But it's not absolutely obvious, and it's not as big of a coup as described unless it all pans out as planned. So we're either the biggest geniuses or the biggest idiots, I guess, It's totally binary. But we think that this is a prized asset. You definitely can't replace it at the price that we can afford to be buying it at. If all goes well, we will have one of the best hotels for families to stay at. It will be called the Capital Zimbali. This is the existing Fairmont Hotel, 150 rooms, over 5 restaurants, incredible facilities from beach to pools to kids clubs, and a great destination for domestic leisure travel. And what we're seeing across the world is that people are traveling by car from their house. 6-hour drive is a palatable drive in order to have a holiday, and people need holidays now, maybe even more than before, or as much as before. And they're not traveling internationally as much as they were. So we see it as quite a strong market, the domestic leisure travel market. And the capital Zimbali, 150 rooms, suites, big, very family orientated. It was great. We're going to refurbish it and make it even better. We're really looking forward to it.
I mean, it's quite funny that we're having this conversation right now, because it's literally a year ago that I was at the Zimbali attending, I think, the last of what was, the last of functions that could be hosted just before we went into a hard lockdown. And it is one of the few places in South Africa that really has that sort of resort, all-inclusive kind of feel. Are you looking to amplify that and build on that? Or are you looking to potentially sort of reposition it a little bit more?
No, we're definitely amplifying on it. People love the Fairmont Zimbali. I think it got a little bit run down in the last 2 years, simply because, as you know, if you build it for 600 million rand and you have debt associated with that and costs associated with that, it's very hard to then reinvest into keeping service levels high and repairs and maintenance and the like. So we're essentially recapitalizing it and rescuing it at a price that we can afford to invest in it and maintain it to the highest standard. And so everything that was great, we're keeping. Everything that wasn't great, we're chucking and changing. And what wasn't great is the service levels had slipped and the repairs and maintenance had slipped. We are going to amplify that. At the same time, we're taking things like the beach club and we're going to expand it and make it even better. We're taking things like the restaurant, the main restaurant, and we're going to turn that into a full Mauritius-style resort restaurant. And what you're going to have is families are going to come and, as you say, have this all-inclusive, safe resort lifestyle. And that doesn't exist to a large extent in South Africa. I think Sun City's done well with family resort. Cape Town is, in my mind, short of a resort. There's great hotels, but there isn't that, all-inclusive, safe resort like we see. The Club Meds of the world. That's what we're bringing in the 5-star bracket, and really, really great for families, and great also for incentive travel. When companies want to do a breakaway, a team build, a conference, and get together, which we think more and more is going to happen. That's also what Zimbali specializes in.
Well, I'm really keen to see what you're going to do with it. Any timelines on that Zimbali project in terms of when you're hoping to have your first guests arrive under the new rebrand and refresh?
We're aiming for 1 September. The deal is subject to Competition Commission approval, which could be a little bit of a delay. But call it 1 September, 1 October. We're going to see the new Zimbali, and of course, we'll let you know about it, and so that you can also advise your audience. But it's going to be something special.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic. And I mean, as we're chatting, let's head a little bit more north and chat about your developments in Nelspruit. What have you got planned in Nelspruit?
Well, Nelspruit is a hotel that we were planning pre-COVID, and what it is, it's a 150-room hotel, apartment, and conference. It'll be, in our view, the best hotel in Nelspruit. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's as fancy as Zimbali, but this is a market that is quite resilient. It's not like the same levels of oversupply of hotels that you have in SANDTON, Nelspruit. There hasn't been a great hotel built for many years there, and yet the market into the African travel, Mozambique, Swaziland, and all of the businesses and industry that surrounds that part of the world is who we're looking to host in what will be the true capital standard of great value, a differentiated product with our apartments for longer stays, and conferencing that will be, that's something that we really pride ourselves in, is when you come and conference with us, it's the latest technology, brilliant rooms and venues, the right kind of soundproofing and acoustics, a restaurant that will probably be the best restaurant in Nelspruit. And it's just beautiful views and a beautiful area. And we're right next to the Langa Mall as well, which is the best mall in Nelspruit. And so, people can go to the cinemas there and the ice rink and the games room for families. So also, again, very family orientated, plus business during the week.
And Mark, finally, a city that you've got a good presence in already, but is probably the crown jewel once again in South Africa when it comes to tourism, when it comes to international travelers, which is Cape Town. And there was a story that came out that you'd sort of set your sights on 15 on Orange, which is also quite an established hotel. Are you able to give us a little bit more details on what's the plan there?
So in Cape Town, we currently have the Capital Mirage, which is just a 70-room hotel. And it does well. In the good times, it was one of the top performing hotels in Cape Town. And even in these bad times, we've managed to pivot it. And I mean, Cape Town has been seriously hard hit. We're talking about occupancies of 15% kind of occupancies. And why it's so low is, Cape Town is an international destination. So there's a lot of hotels serving an international audience who obviously can't arrive these days. But yet we've managed to pivot it and we've managed to fill it quite well. And that's simply because we're a business of over 1,400 rooms, but yet we only have 70 rooms in Cape Town. So we were just undersupplied. And so we've looked to get into another hotel in Cape Town, but in the boom times of Cape Town, it booms to an international level and you can't get in. And now in these bad times, this is the opportunity now to get in. And 15 on Orange is an asset that we think represents everything that the capital stands for, which is hotel and conference. And we're going to be converting a lot of the rooms into apartments as well, true to the capital form, to take a longer stay audience as well. And it's a 5-star, beautiful property that we feel very blessed to have the opportunity to get in at. And it's one of, I would say, 8 of the top hotels in Cape Town that people know already. And again, we're going to do what worked, we're going to keep. What didn't work, we'll change. But what didn't work, there was actually very little. I think it was really well received by the market.
Well, it's a hotel that I've also had the chance of staying at. It was a very nice location, well positioned, and also a very nice setup and a very nice structure. And I'm looking forward to seeing as well what you're going to be doing with this particular space and adding the capital magic to it. Mark, as you look ahead at 2021, I mean, you've already listed a whole bunch of things that you're going to be busy with. Is there anything else that you're setting your sights on in terms of achieving over the next 12 months?
Yeah, I think this is the start of acquisitions. We don't intend to take our foot off the pedal there. I think that some of the disarray of the hotel market is actually only starting now, because what happened was the banks supported hotels through COVID. And only now, when we'll start getting out of COVID, will the banks start putting their foot down and saying, guys, you need to repay on your loans. So we'll see more distress in the hotel sector and more recapitalization needed. And we stand ready to use the bad times to grow and to save the jobs associated with it, which is, always a big intention. Tourism is one of the biggest job creators, and we want to get tourism back on track in South Africa.
Well, Mark, I think that's an upbeat note to end our conversation on today. That's Marc Wachsberger, founder and managing director of the Capital Hotel Group. Mark, thanks so much for making the time to chat to us.
Thanks, Alexander.